that start? You like that start? What a way to kick off the 2021 NHL season. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Maple Leafs Media. We got the guys here for the first post-game show of the regular season. Montreal, Toronto, overtime matchup, 5-4 Toronto victory. What a way to start. How you guys feeling?
I'm pumped up! That's a big win there for the boys. Big one in OT. Coming through. You know how that is. And how about Willie the Kid? Playing his heart out there. Put it all in the sleeves. All for the Leafs. All for the team. One of many more dubs to come.
I'm hyped. I mean, you know what? At the end of the day, it wasn't a pretty 2 points, but we got it. We got the 2 points in our pocket.
And that is a valuable 2 points. Montreal gets 1 point. Every point matters in this North Division, the new division realignment. If you haven't already, make sure you smash the like button and hit the notification bell. We are here for the next little while. We're going to get through a bunch of comments. Drop your comments in this comment section below. We'll post them. We'll talk about them. We're going to analyze this game. We're going to dissect statistics and information. We're going to do what we do best. We're going to talk Maple Leafs hockey. And I will be showing the clips of the goals, both for Toronto and Montreal. He has his notes prepared.
Yep.
Let's go. Let's start off with Seth's comment here, because this is something that we should talk about. Bogosian's and Freddie's game was suspect tonight. So let's start with Zach Bogosian. He took 2 penalties that were costly penalties, and he kind of looked pretty slow out there. What do you guys think of what we saw from Zach Bogosian tonight?
I think we're seeing a very rusty player out there. I think Zach Bogosian will come along as the season goes. I don't want to rat him too hard right at the beginning, but both of those penalties seemed very lazy. It seemed like his feet stopped moving, and he just tried to use his arms, his hands, whatever he could to get a hold of the other player. And obviously the refs aren't going to let that go, and he's got to get his legs under him, or else he's going to be an impediment to the team moving forward. So I hope to see better things in future games from him. But this was not his brightest spot.
Clarky?
You know, we were texting about this. I thought he actually started like the first 10 minutes of the game. He actually started out well. Like, we're just talking the first 10 minutes before he got the penalty. He had a nice shot on net. I heard him shouting on the ice. It looked like he was communicating. He broke up a 2-on-1 at the start of the game. I wrote, Bogosian's off to a good start. But then we started to see he did look a little slower. And Montreal's a pacey team. We got to give it to them. They got some forwards that can fly. So I think that Bogosian was a little bit of a liability on that end. And I also think some of the penalties he took were questionable. Maybe the second penalty was a bit of a makeup call, because right before that there was that high sticking. So I thought that was also a bit of a makeup call. But still, yeah, we can't have those penalties, especially with how that penalty kill looked, which we're going to get into. But damn, the penalty kill did not look good. So we don't need Bogosian taking those penalties every game.
That's not something we can have. And as for Freddie Anderson, he made 28 saves on 32 shots. I mean, this is what I expected. My prediction for this game was a 5-3 Maple Leafs win. And my prediction, it's because I expected these goaltenders to be rusty. And it appeared that way. Frederik Anderson, I think his season's going to continue to... His play's only going to elevate from here, in my opinion. I don't think that that's something we should be too worried about in the first game of the season. We got the ticker, just Toronto's scoring at the bottom here. And we're going to go over some clips from this game we just witnessed. We're going to give you our first, second, and third star of the game. Maybe we should start with giving our 3 stars of the game. So for our 3 stars of the game, we have William Nylander. Had himself a night. Joey Anderson, 2nd star. You got to give credit where credit is due. You got to call a spade a spade. Joey Anderson, he made a case for the Montreal Canadiens out there. I mean,
an interesting thing about Joey Anderson too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did he not have more goals tonight than he did all of last season?
Yeah, he had 1 last season.
And John Tavares, got to be the 3rd star of the game out there, winning some crucial face-offs, had a goal and 2 assists. Great game from John Tavares as well. Those are our 3 stars. If you disagree, if you agree, let us know in the comments section. And we're going to show some clips from this game because it was a fun game. We're not going to be completely biased. We're going to show Montreal's goals as well. And this one, just kind of ignore the French broadcast if you speak English.
Tavares wins the draw. Nylander up high.
Nope, wrong one.
Les joueurs qui se dirigent vers le filet, dont Suzuki d'un angle très restreint.
So that was Nick Suzuki on a weird angle, making it 1-0. And then next goal, we have William Nylander tying it up.
Tavares wins the draw. Nylander up high. He shoots and scores. William Nylander from long range.
William Nylander had himself a night out there, guys. I don't know about you, but to me, he was the standout player of the game.
Yeah, you know what? He just looked confident, and I think that's great to see. He had 30 goals last year. He could have a really big season this year. But I just think, he looked confident. He looked like when he was shooting the puck, he was going to have a good shot, and he was confident in picking his corners. And you saw in that goal he got on the 5-on-3, or it was on the 5-on-3. Yeah, it was on the 5-on-3 where he picked the top shelf, and he was just looking. He was just looking, and he just went where he was looking. I thought, he had a really good game. I think that whole line with Vesey and Tavares, they all played really well, especially towards the end of the game. And, if we can get that play out of Tavares, Nylander, and Vesey going forward, along with the other guys getting it going, we're going to have good offense this year.
Well, I just want to say Jimmy Vesey, that line looked good. He made Jimmy Vesey. There's a miscommunication, bad penalty at the beginning of the game. I was yelling at my TV. I was really pissed off by that, but it's the first game of the season. Miscommunications happen. Let's not overreact. And there's some comments in here. Yeah, we called him Joey Anderson. Sorry about that, Josh Anderson. It's whatever. Continuing with the show, we have this goal made it 2-1 for the Montreal Canadiens. So that is Josh Anderson. And then, yet again, Montreal with another goal.
Les joueurs sur cette autre unité. Passe devant, échappé de Tatar. Tatar lance. Compte! Tatar!
That,
Freddie's
that's a
5-hole. Freddie's 5-hole. I believe, if I'm remembering right, too, the announcer broadcast this stat that Frederik Andersen has the most 5-hole goals allowed of any goalie in the league over the last season or two. And I've seen that way too many times going through the 5-hole. Obviously, he's a great goalie. There's other games where he does step up. But I feel like goals like that needs to be ironed out.
Well, first game of the season. He's got a lot of time to work it out. It's a shortened season, but there's 56 games or 55 games to go. So obviously he's not going to be playing in all those, but let's see how he rebounds 2 days from now against the Ottawa Senators on Friday night. And then Saturday night they play the Senators as well. So after that 3-1 Montreal lead, Maple Leafs Twitter was blowing up. Twitter, Leafs land. We're getting anxious. We're getting pissed off. We're like, not again, not this. No, can't deal with it. But then we remembered this is a different team. Because we have the Wayne train. Wayne Simmonds dropping the mitts, getting the guys hyped up. This is why we brought in Wayne Simmonds. This is why we brought Wayne Simmonds in to play on this team. He is just going to get these guys hyped up, and he's going to step up in big-time moments just like that.
I think he's setting the tone for the season. He comes on, he throws a fight with Ben Chariot. Ben Chariot, he was a bit scrappy, especially on Matthews throughout the game. He was giving him a lot of cross-checks. So Simmonds, I think it was a fight where there wasn't a lot of hate in it or anything like that, but it was more a fight like, yo, let's go. And they did, and I think it was a turning point for the Leafs. And I think, again, Simmonds, he's coming in and he knows his role. He might not be on the top line anymore in his career, have a big a role as he did in Philly, but he knows he can play as an enforcer. He can play as a hype man for the Leafs, and that he did just that, looking at the bench right after the fight saying, let's go. Doesn't have a crowd to pump up, so it's a bit different, but pointing at the bench and being like, come on, guys, like, look what I'm doing for you guys. Like, I think that still's got to energize you as a player and really get everyone going. So it was great to see that.
I think the big thing, touching on Wayne Simmonds' role, is really that he does understand what his role is with his team. And I think, with an interesting take, what do you guys think is more likely? Do you think it's more likely that Wayne Simmonds pots 15 goals this year or gets over 100 penalty minutes?
I'm gonna go with the penalty minutes. Maybe. I mean, he's got 5 already. 5 already. Let's take that. I don't think that he's gonna get. What was the goal number you had? 15.
15 for the season.
He could get 15 goals. I don't know. I'm gonna stick with the penalty minutes. I think he's gonna be fighting a lot, getting this team hyped up, and those 5 plus 5 that adds up really quickly.
What about you, Clarky? What do you think?
I think a lot of people forget one of the best hat tricks if you don't get 3 goals in a game is the Gordie Howe hat trick: a fight, an assist, and a goal. And I think Simmonds could definitely get a couple of those this year. So I'm going to say both. He's going to get a few Gordie Howes.
Well, there's a question I want to address here. In the comments section, I see all your comments. Sandin should be in. Jake David says, when will Sandin or Mikko get a start? And I'm going to go ahead, just based off the adjustments I saw tonight. After that Jimmy VC penalty, the next shift, it didn't last long, but in the next shift, Wayne Simmonds was up on the second line. Sheldon Keefe, he's not afraid to change his lineup around, and if you aren't playing up to par, up to standard, up to his expectations, he's gonna sub you out. We saw that tonight. And I would expect one of these guys to be playing next game because I don't think Zach Bogosian's performance met Sheldon Keefe's expectations tonight.
It'll be interesting to see what Keith decides to do with a veteran like Bogosian. Do you give him a little bit longer leash, or is it that short, given the depth that the Leafs do have at the defense position? I think what we see over these next few games and how he chooses to navigate the logjam at defense will really give us an indication of what the season's going to look like going forward with the defense pairings. If he chooses to stick with Bogosian and ride him out for a few more games and not let the younger guys like Sandin get into the lineup, then perhaps the veterans have the longer leash. But if you're seeing a young guy replace Bogosian next game, then that writing's on the wall. You play well in this defense, or you don't play.
Well, another thing to add that we have a back-to-back Friday night, Saturday night. Ottawa Senators back-to-back nights. Maybe Bogosian plays the second night and we rest him because he has an injury history as well. Maybe we see load management with him this season. That's definitely a possibility. Let's continue with the clips, though. Keep dropping your questions in the comments section, just your thoughts, whatever you want to talk about. This is the Maple Leafs post-game show. We're excited to be here. And after that Wayne Train fight, we were expecting to see a shift in momentum. And I think we did. I think that was the momentum moment of the game that really swung the momentum the Maple Leafs' way. Because shortly after, William Nylander on the power play snipes his second of the night. Gets the guys going. William Nylander. Unreal shot.
Beauty goal.
I think Nylander's going to have one hell of a season this year. Based off what I saw in the blue and white scrimmage and tonight, 2 goals in the blue and white scrimmage, 2 goals tonight. He looks like he's playing with supreme confidence out there.
It wasn't even the goals I noticed predominantly, too. Like, obviously, he had a hell of a game, but the speed he was playing with. And this was a quicker game to begin with, too, but his speed was noticeable out there. It's like he's coming in early season with mid-season legs already.
Yeah, you can tell he's put in the work.
Yeah. He there's a couple times where he's behind our net and he just goes all the way down the ice and he just goes around people. He's dancing around people. He looks like he's in mid-season form already.
Yeah.
How about after that? Shortly after that Nylander goal, we had this happen. The Maple Leafs 2-man advantage. Ties it up. John Tavares, Johnny Toronto, tips it home with a deflection to tie this game 3-3. But the momentum swings weren't done yet because...
Get back on track.
Here's Josh Anderson, who scored tonight, cutting in. Anderson scores! It leaks through, and Josh Anderson has a pair.
That was a weak goal.
Yeah, you know what? I think that if Leaf fans are going to point fingers at Anderson, and I've seen a lot of comments so far, share your opinion, shoot a comment how you thought Anderson played. But if you're going to point one goal where it was really weak, I'd say that one. I'd say that Anderson was put in a lot of tough situations tonight, but I think that he definitely should have had that one. And I'm talking about the goalie, obviously. Mix their names up so easy. But also Tavares, he was gassed at the end of the line, and he tried to make a bit of a defensive play with his stick, and he just got blown right by. So that was tough to see. At the start of the third, I was a little discouraged because the Leafs had a good end of the second period. And to see that, I don't know how you guys felt, and share your comment. Seeing that, I was like, I don't know if the Leafs can make it. I don't know if they're going to be able to make a comeback here.
Well, you cannot lose your belief because we have some new faces on this team. And to tie it up 4-4.
Drouin looking for Petrie. Burke gave it up, scores! And Jimmy Vesey has his first Maple Leaf goal. The game is...
Jimmy Vesey. I told you. Jimmy Vesey is going to have an impact on this team this year. His first of 17 goals to come this season.
We'll see.
He was a workhorse. He was a workhorse on that line. I think that whole line. I can't say any of the Leafs played really well the first 30, 35 minutes of the game, but I would say that line was a bright spot during the game. They worked hard. Nylander, Vesey, Tavares, they were all putting in a lot of effort when they were in the offensive zone. They made things happen. Tavares kept the puck in for that Vesey goal. They're playing together as a team. So I think that, that line was definitely very nice to see as a Leaf fan.
And back to the Leafs and how their poorest play early. I'd like to hear your guys' takes. Do you think the Leafs deserve to win this game? Or do you think this was more of a stolen point where their goalie held them in throughout the game and they were able to pick up their game later in the game to come back and win?
Well, we won the game, and Wayne Simmonds helped shift the momentum in that game. I think we were deserving of the victory because we fought until the end there, and we pulled away with the victory. Clarky, what do you think about that?
About the stolen point?
Stolen point. Like, did we deserve that victory? Is what Rebel
I
was saying.
think at the end of the day, you got to look at it and probably if you're just judging the game off the first 35 minutes, 30 minutes, the Leafs did not look good. And we're seeing some comments here about even Jumbo and some of the players in and out. And there was a lot of Leaf players at the start of the game that they were all playing. Keefe was getting every line involved, and it just wasn't working out. And we saw towards the end of the game that the Leafs relied on their top guns. And I think at the end of the day, the Leafs star power prevailed. And I think that the point that we got, the extra point we got, was well-deserved just for that. And Anderson made some big saves in overtime that we have to shout him out for. He made some game-stopping saves.
He did. He stepped up in the big-time moment when it mattered the most in this season opener. And let's see how the Maple Leafs stole that extra point. We're going to take you down to ice level. Morgan Riley. Morgan Riley puts it home. What a fitting way to end this game. John Tavares, the captain, to assistant captain Morgan. And the Buds are happy. Let's go. Go Leafs go. What a way to start the season.
And let me just say, to touch on a question that's being asked here on how we feel about 3-on-3 overtime, I really do enjoy the 3-on-3 dynamic. I think ever since the NHL made that change, it's brought more entertainment into an overtime period. Because obviously overtime's always been entertaining with more open ice and more numbers. But that 3-on-3, that's some of the best hockey as far as fast-paced excitement for fans. You really get to see. You could see it throughout with multiple breakaways, good scoring opportunities, goalies making big saves. It really does put the top talent on display for the NHL.
I love the 3-on-3 dynamic. It's fun to watch, but at the same time, it's very nerve-wracking. It gives you extra anxiety, like that breakaway. I can't remember who on Montreal had the breakaway at the end of the game.
I think it was Danino.
It might have been Dano, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was just, my heart was racing there. And normal 5-on-5 play, that's not going to happen because you're most likely going to have the two defenders back. But it's extra fun. It's really extra fun to watch. What do you think of 3-on-3 overtime, Clark?
I think Jack Trout nailed it in the head here. He said fitness is going to be huge this year. We saw on 3-on-3 and even towards the end of the game, players were gassed, and we forget we're watching from home, so we're like, why are the guys moving so slower here right now? Like, what's going on here? Like, but these guys, especially like Matthew, Tavares, Martin, Nylander, they're playing plus 20 minutes, and for the first game of the season, they don't usually start in January. Fitness is going to be key. So I think that that's definitely going to have a factor on 3-on-3, but also towards and throughout all the games this year.
Yeah, well, fitness, there's a question to follow that up. How do you think Jumbo Joe did? Pretty good, I'd say. I mean, the first period, he looked pretty decent out there. And as the game went on, it progressed further and further. You kind of saw him fading away. Like, I didn't see him very much in the third period. I think that's expected. Get more ice time and then continue to see it decline as the game goes on. But, I mean, back to your point about fitness mattering. Jumbo Joe, he's obviously over 41 years old, and he just played in Europe, Switzerland to be exact. So that's going to help him out in a big way this season.
Yeah, I thought Jumbo, he did look a bit out of it. Now, obviously, it's the first game. He's going to get his wheels back on him. Hopefully, obviously, you don't have much wheels left when you're 42. But I think that Keefe is going to shift around the lines, like you said earlier. And we saw Hyman slot into his role towards the end of the game, and that started to work out more. So maybe Jumbo drops down to a smaller role at the start of the season or another line. We'll have to see where he fits in. And Hyman goes back up to that line with Marner and Matthews. But we're going to see. And I think Keefe, it's on Keefe and Jumbo and everyone else on the team to make it work this year.
Absolutely. I like this comment from Jason Brooks. Matthews, Marner, and Jumbo Joe Hyman line looked pretty good, but so did Montreal's first line. It was back and forth all game, but between those two lines, and I liked the way our first line looked, and I liked how Sheldon Keefe managed that. He knew when to put Zach Hyman out there, and Zach Hyman had a bunch of opportunities tonight. There's a question here. Does Jack Campbell get the first game against Ottawa because we played back-to-back Friday night and Saturday night? It's a tough question. Only Sheldon Keefe knows the answer to that. What do you guys think? Would you make a prediction, or you with me there?
I would say Ottawa is the game that you probably want to look to play Jack Campbell. But again, as you're saying, only Keith really knows. They've really got to decide how they want to pace out Freddie and Campbell and split out the net this season. So if they do want Freddie to have the majority of the games and Campbell's not going to see that much time, then who knows? But if they're splitting it out a bit more to save up a rested Freddie for later in the year, then yes, I could see Campbell getting a start in Ottawa.
Well, I think he's definitely going to get one of the two back-to-backs, personally. Question from Jake David. Does Matthews drop the gloves this season? My buddy thinks he'll get sick of the cross-checks and stick up for himself. We saw Matthews with a little bit of feistiness in him at the end of the game there. He was definitely getting sick of being pushed around, cross-checked. Saw him make a hit. I think it's a possibility, but I'd ideally not like to see that. I'd like to see Wayne Simmonds or Zach Bogosian or anyone else other than Austin Matthews drop the gloves.
I could definitely. I think that ties back into my earlier hypothesis I had at the beginning of the season. I could really see Wayne Simmonds playing on that first line with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner at some point. And I think that having a player like Simmonds on a line with him would allow him to shift away from other things like that and potentially not have to deal with as much of the physical toll. So it'll be interesting to see how Sheldon Keefe decides to juggle up the lines, and if that is something where he ends up giving Matthews more help, or if it becomes something where Matthews is to the point he has to stand up for himself.
Yeah, I think Matthews, you look at him, he could definitely stand up for himself. But again, if he gets a penalty or he's fighting, that's minutes we don't have him on the ice, and he's one of our key players. So I personally would prefer he keeps the fighting to a minimum this year. I don't know about you guys.
Well, he's had a wrist injury or something to do with his hand, and I just don't want him to re-aggravate
Punching
that.
a helmet or something, you never know what can happen.
It's not worth it to me.
I think when you look at the investment the Leafs have made into him, that's not the player you want fighting. And I think management feels the exact same way as the two of you there. That Austin Matthews you just don't want to take that chance. He takes one bad punch, throws something the wrong way, something goes, he's injured out for the season, out for half the season. You don't want that to happen over one silly fight.
Definitely. Rusty Nails says, who thought TJ Brody looked a lot like Tyson Barrie on the ice? I still think Riley needs another impact defensive partner. Okay, so I'm not going to go as far to say he looked like Tyson Barrie out there, but I will say this. There's times that the pairing miscommunicated, and it's a new line pairing. There's a few times where it was noticeable. They got caught in the offensive zone, and Montreal was back before they were in our defensive zone. So I think it's just things that these two need to work out together. What do you guys think?
I touched on this earlier as someone that watches both Calgary and Toronto. I really don't see that pairing being the long-term end-all be-all fit. TJ Brody is not as defensive as Leaf fans were making him out to be before the season. And I think this game shined a prime example onto that. Now, obviously, it is a new pairing. They can figure out what works for them. They're both very strong skaters, and there is potential that they could more adjust to mesh with each other. But I'm not sure TJ Brody is as solid a fit beside Morgan Riley as everyone initially thought.
Well, we'll have to see it play out. Clarky, did you have something to say there?
I was just going to say, I personally thought that it wasn't just Brody. I thought all the Leafs defense just wasn't that good tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think defense and also the offense coming back and playing more a defensive role. I mean, you saw in Montreal, Suzuki, he made a great play. He saved a goal for Montreal. And, you know, I didn't see that much effort from some of the Leaf forwards coming back. And like I mentioned earlier, JT got blown by on that last Montreal goal. So I think it was a whole collective effort where we got to improve. And also think Riley, like, he got the game winner, but he also had some times throughout the night where he wasn't looking that sharp. But first game of the season, and hopefully, you know, the defense, everyone gets their legs under them going forward.
Definitely. I agree with everything you just said there. There's a question I wanted to get to here. Who do you take out for Friday's game? So if you were in Sheldon Keefe's position, who would you change? Who would you swap in and out? And the first name that comes to mind is Zach Bogosian. I mentioned to that earlier in the game or in the post-game show. I think that Zach Bogosian, he's going to be facing load management due to his injuries. And to be honest, he just looks slow out there. And he took 2 costly penalties. So I would replace him with Sandin or Lettinen. Give one of these younger guys a chance.
Yeah, you know what I'm a bit concerned about, though, if you think about it? Like, we played like 3 really supposed to be more defensive defensemen, and Muzzin, Hall's pretty defensive, and Bogosian. So if we plug in with like Sandin, who's more, we don't really know yet, but he's more probably going to run with the rush and pinch a bit more, then that could also be another thing where it's like, who's actually like a real true defensive defenseman on the Leafs? But I do agree that Bogosian, he didn't have a good game at all. And like I said, the first 10 minutes, I thought he was coming out strong, but then he had a couple bad penalties. And yeah, so I think that Keefe's got to experiment. We got a deep squad for a reason, and we got to utilize that.
Definitely. Do you have a take on this, Reb?
I'm going to say, for the point of not sounding the exact same as both of you, he keeps it the same. He runs out the same lineup, maybe with the lines slightly different, but the same players addressed, and that's your starting lineup against Ottawa.
So I'm not picking on Zach Bogosian here. I think that Zach Bogosian, he can be a valuable asset for this team going forward. And sure, he looks slow out there. He's probably one of the slower skaters on the team. He's dealt with a lot of injuries in his career as well. Let's just see how it plays out. It's the first game. Let's not overreact. Let's not get on Zach Bogosian because of 2 penalties in the first game. That's all I'm going to say about this. Let's move on from Zach Bogosian because there's a lot to address here. Camden says Muzzin looks slow. A lot of these guys looked slow. Hall looked really good, to be honest, and I agree with that. Justin Hall looked good out there tonight. I saw him block a Shea Weber shot, too. Let's continue here with some. There's something else. Oh, Jason Spezza. Shout out to Jason Spezza. Got to call a spade a spade. Jason Spezza has had an amazing career, and he reached the 600 career assist mark. That is that's an incredible
It's a big milestone.
achievement.
That's a huge one. I think Spezza, he was on Ottawa before he was anything, and he was a star in Ottawa. And I think, it's just one guy. I think a lot of people around the league, fans, as well as other players, respect the guy. He just seems like a really nice guy. And I know when he left Ottawa, never met him or anything, but I heard he did a lot for that community. So I'm just happy we have him on our team, and I'm happy that he's contributing and he's still around. I think he still has gas in the tank and he can contribute. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say about him, as well as the comments. But I think that assist, 600 assists, that's huge.
Well, yeah, I think Jason Spezza, he's definitely slowed down. Obviously, with age, it happens. It's a natural thing. We see it with every athlete. Jason Spezza, I'm going to make a bold prediction. Might not be so bold. I think he's going to score a goal in one of the next 2 games against Ottawa. I think that he will play at least one of them. And I hope he plays both. I hope that Sheldon Keefe doesn't pull Mike Babcock here. But I think Spezza, he's still got a lot left in the tank, and he wants to win a cup. We saw how bad he desires to win a Stanley Cup last year when he was forced to be put in that Wayne Simmonds kind of role against Columbus and spark a fight that sparked a comeback in Game 4 of the preliminary round.
I think it's also interesting, just as what would you do in this situation? If speed does become an issue for this team throughout the season and they do continue to look slow, then you have to pick one of Spezza or Thornton to play and one to be taken out of the lineup to insert a more speedier guy like Robertson. Who would you prefer to play? And who do you think fills the bigger role for this team going forward?
I think that that's something that you can change on a nightly basis this season. I think that you can slot in Spezza one night and then Thornton the next. Just keep them going, or you can go with the hot hand at that point as well. I think that these guys are going to be playing a rotational role, and I said that earlier in the offseason. I just think that neither of these guys are going to play a full 56-game season, and I'd expect some of them to rotate.
Yeah, I agree with both you guys. I think, hockey is one of the more sports where matchups matter. I think we saw tonight that Montreal actually has a lot of unexpected speed. Anderson, Toffoli, Deneau, the list goes on, Suzuki. And, Montreal, we got to hand it to them. They were not that bad of a team. I know a lot of people are saying Montreal, they're not going to make it. They're not going to even be top 5, top 6. But, Montreal didn't look that bad. And I think that the Leafs really need to adjust their lineups going forward, depending the team they're playing. And the speedier teams, that's a good point what you made, Rib. We might not be able to have Thornton and Spezza in the same game. So it's going to be interesting to see what Keefe says. We're playing these teams a lot, though. So we'll get a feel for each one of them.
And I think to tie back to Leaf fans that are concerned about how the speed looked against Montreal too, I really think that the vast majority of people were underrating Montreal coming into the season, especially as Leaf fans with a predisposition towards them. I really could see that Montreal team, if Carey Price plays solid throughout the year and Jake Allen is able to give them meaningful minutes and solid games as backup, I really could see that Montreal team seriously pushing for the 4 seed or the 3 seed.
Montreal's don't mistake it. Montreal's going to be a threat this year. They're going to be a really good team. I like what I saw from them, and Toronto pulled out with a win on top. So interesting comment here. What's up, boys? First time in 5 years where Matthews didn't score in the first game of the season. Maybe we see a 4-goal game against the Ottawa Senators. Maybe we see it again.
Love to see that.
Matthews not scoring 2 also speaks more to not Matthews playing a bad game, as we obviously saw he had lots of shots on goal, but Philip Deneau played a hell of a game on the other side defensively, constantly being matched up against Austin Matthews. I remember at the beginning of the name, they showed a graphic of the past matchups they had, and Philip Deneau, for whatever reason, seems to really have a handle on how to ensure Austin Matthews is held at bay when they play each other. And I thought Deneau played a hell of a game on the Montreal side. And I think this game and Matthews not scoring the goal was less about Matthews and more about Deneau.
Well, I think that we're going to see this matchup a lot. So it's going to be really exciting. Deneau Matthews, this should be an interesting matchup. And it's kind of going to be spread out throughout the season. Toronto, Montreal will be spread out through the season. But that last month is what I'm looking forward to. 6 times in the last month we play this team. I think that we saw just a little glimpse of how intense those games are going to be.
Yeah, I think, Rib, you brought up a really good point about Deneau matched up against Matthews. They showed some stats, and it's not too favorable for Matthews, so I think that definitely is something Leaf fans need to consider going forward.
I like this comment from John Howard. Nylander played well.
Yep. Shout out, John.
Montreal played well until they got penalties. Toronto was not great, but it is great they won. So how about this? There's a interesting thing going on with this Maple Leafs team this year. I don't know if you all heard about this, but there's going to be a Maple Leafs docu-series released, and that's going to be on Amazon. It's going to be the 2021 Toronto Maple Leafs season. I think it's called All In or something like that. It's going to be a docu-series, and if you've seen the NFL does something with this. I can't remember the name of it, but it's going to be extremely fun to watch that.
It will be interesting to see, too, with a more behind-the-scenes look at a lot of these guys, especially the newer guys. And not only what it's like fitting in a huge media market like the Toronto Maple Leafs, but also with the pandemic affecting everything. I think it will give us a more educational and special look into behind the scenes than perhaps you would see in other docuseries. It really is a unique year. So not only following the uniqueness of the year, but also such a big hockey market team that lives and breathes with their hockey team, the Toronto Maple Leafs. I feel like they made the right choice for them being in the document series this year. And it will be interesting for all hockey fans and Leaf fans alike.
Well, it's going to be really fun to watch how I'm super excited to see like the leadership inside the locker room, the leadership of Wayne Simmonds, Joe Thornton, Jason Spezza, and just the intensity that these new faces bring to this team.
Yeah, I think hockey is definitely a bit more muted, and you don't really get a glimpse into the lifestyle as well as the change room and how the team interacts. So I think that'll be definitely interesting. I just want to say shout out also to Isaac here in the comment section. I know we were coming on either way if the Leafs won or lost, and it's good to see the Habs fans in here. I know the other night they were all in here chirping us saying that Leafs are going to lose. We turned out to be the winner, but it was definitely a close game. Could have gone either way. So shout out to you, Isaac, for being in there, being a true fan, and that's what we're all about. We support anyone, no matter who you cheer for. Come and comment, and let's go.
The Habs played a very good game, and the Leafs played a suspect game. But ultimately, the Leafs had a little bit more star power to pull through at the end. And I think that's how we can sum it up there. But respect to the Habs. They came out and played hard. There's nothing to be ashamed of there. And it's going to be good matchups for the rest of the season between these two teams.
Well, there's a comment here I like just to address that. John Howard says it perfectly. Wait until the Leafs put it all together in short time. When this Leafs team puts it all together, I mean, we saw a glimpse of how lethal. We already know that we have all these scorers, all these players with unreal abilities, just super talented players in our core four, and it goes way beyond them as well. I think that this team, they are going to reach their full potential this year. I sure hope so. Comment here. Leafs are going to go to the playoffs this year and will be Stanley Cup champions in 2021. This year, we have to have faith in our boys.
Let's calm down a bit.
I love it.
It's been one game.
I love the comment.
Let's not quite set the bar there yet.
Believe, baby.
Let's at least give them 10 games, 20% of the season, see where they're at. Because what I saw in that's not a team that makes the Cup Finals if they're playing that with you.
You want to know what I know, though? That we took points away from Montreal tonight, and we got to play them head-to-head a lot this season. So We can take points head to head against everyone else. We're
I
going to the
think
playoffs.
I think a key point to
We're
remember
going.
too with this new division setup is that there will only be one team that makes it as far as the conference finals out of this division. And there is a lot of very good teams in this division. And I think those playoff early round matchups, the Leafs could have a very good regular season, but then they're going to face two extremely hard matchups to get out of this Canadian division. And I don't quite think we're there yet, especially given what we've seen in tonight's game and that it was only one regular season game, to quite say that they're going all the way to the Stanley Cup final already.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say that they're going to the Stanley Cup final already. Just reading a comment, but it's a realistic possibility. Anything's possible. The questions come in a lot. Do you guys think that? Do you believe in me that the Leafs will win the Stanley Cup this year? I want to say I believe, but let's not overhype it yet. Let's just stay calm, cool, and collected. Let's just enjoy the fact that hockey's back, and let's see where it goes. Let's see how the season ends up. It's definitely a possibility, though. There's a comment I wanted to get up to here. The Habs are a good team. I think the Leafs fans underrated the Habs, and I don't think this is just Leafs fans that underrated the Habs. I think that everybody underrated the Habs. I think that the Habs, they've got a really good, talented group over there.
Yeah, the Habs looked good trading Domi when we saw tonight. Anderson got a couple goals. He looked really good. I think Deneau looked really good. Suzuki, great prospect for them. And even that Russian defender they got, that 21-year-old, Habs look good, and we can't deny that. They got a lot of young talent as well as Price and Weber. So it'll be interesting to see. There's going to be a battle all year long. It's going to be a battle.
Yep, we will see 10 games between these two teams, and I'm super excited to see how it ends up. I'm super excited to see where this rivalry ends up in the next couple of years as well, because these teams are going to be intact for a while.
And I think this really cements it. If the fans didn't see it before, welcome to the Canadian division. This is what a night in and night out basis with all these Canadian teams is going to start to look like. Lots of competitive rivalries, lots of close hockey games, and you're going to start to see some bad blood.
So a comment here. Leafs played like Anderson is not a good goalie when it comes to the beginning of the season. Well, I mean, there's a lot of rust to shake off for these goalies, and I thought that I honestly predicted this, that both goalies would be rusty, and it appeared that way. Both goalies made really good saves, but I mean, you gotta give credit where credit's due. The Leafs might have played not their best game, but they pulled away with the victory. That's what matters most.
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, if you didn't really watch the game, you look at the stat line, both goalies had a horrible game. But it was an open game. And I think, in my opinion, watching the whole game, there's a lot of 2-on-1s, 1-on-1s, breakaways. And Anderson, he could have saved a few of those goals, but he also was put in some very difficult situations. And the Leafs, for all the noise we've been making about the Leafs having depth, we didn't do a lot of defending tonight. So I think that Anderson was definitely put in a difficult situation, and he's got to improve, but also the Leafs as a whole got to improve.
And let's just call it like it is. You got to call a spade a spade. You can't hang Anderson out to dry on a nightly basis and expect him to bail you out every single game. And I think that the fans forget this a lot of the time, that as good as a goalie may be or as bad as a goalie may be, a lot of it depends on the situations put in front of them. And there are some goals that no goalie in the league will save if their team falters in front of them. And yes, Freddie did let in one or two soft goals today that made us all question. But let's not pretend that the team in front of him was any semblance of defensive mastery.
Well, yeah, no, the defense was not on their game. This was a very offensive heavy battle between these two teams tonight. And I'll keep saying it. These goalies, neither of them were on their best A game tonight. Both made good saves. So let's not jump on Freddie Andersen right away. It's game 1 in the season, guys. This is what Leafs fans love to do, and I'll call you out. I'll call you all out. I mean, we've all been hard on Freddie Andersen, but last year he faced it was over 31 shots a game, and tonight, no different. He needs to face less shots in a game. Our defense needs to clean up their game, and we just need to allow less shots on goal.
Yeah, I think Chuck has a good comment here. He said, I would have started Campbell tonight and Anderson the first game in Ottawa. What do you guys think of that?
Well, I think that you got to go with the starter, and you got to allow him to have that confidence. And if your starter's Frederik Andersen, you're going to give Frederik Andersen the day 1 start. Jack Campbell, he can have opportunities in the season to prove himself, and he will get one of the 2 starts in Friday or Saturdays back-to-back against Ottawa, in my personal opinion. But we'll see. He can definitely make a case to be the starting goalie this year.
And I think what a lot of fans are overlooking here is, can you imagine the drama that would have caused in the locker room if Frederik Andersen, who's been a Leaf for a few years now and been their bona fide starter, was not given the game for their season opener against
Austin Matthews' best friend.
a division rival. And yes, Austin Matthews' best friend. If anyone saw their series of quarantining together, that would have been hell to pay for Sheldon Keefe. When that's your guy and that's your starter, you give him the first game. No ifs, ands, or buts. That was Freddie's game. It's Freddie's crease. Jack Campbell's got to come in and take it if he wants it.
So let's read this comment here. Can Keefe please put Nylander and Matthews on the wings in power play 1? They are the best 2 shooting options on the team. Marner can play in the slot area. I personally like how our power play is set up and configured. I like that we're spreading the wealth of our skill, our top tier skill, on the first and second power play line units. He says, why not load up the power play 1 and all the elite power play units overload their first line? Well, I just like the idea of spreading the wealth, and in big time moments, I think we saw it tonight, in big time moments, it's a tight game and you need a goal bad, you can just load up that first power play line unit. But it's good time just to see what we have on the power play unit and let them kind of even it out. Play even, spread the wealth.
Yeah, I think the Leafs definitely have a good problem, and we got a lot of options to put on the power play. What I would say, though, elite first unit, I think that Simmonds did play well when we saw him in the second power play go around. I have a note here that he made a really good D play on Weber, and I think that he was definitely a good bot in front of the net. You saw him make a really good net front presence. Don't need just JT to do that. If we can get another guy in there that can screen the goalie, cause some havoc down low in the boards as well in front of the goalie, I think that a non-skilled player, or not a skilled player, can play that role on the power play.
We got a comment here from Scotty Shark. I've seen him with a bunch of comments. Bunch of homers. Hey, we've been calling spades out here tonight. We've been giving a lot of credit to the Montreal Canadiens.
I really like that comment underneath too from Henrik, if you want to pull that one up.
Yes, from Sweden. So who, in your opinion, let's start off with, who was the best 2-way player for the Maple Leafs tonight?
Rib?
That's a hard question because I'm not sure there was that many that really were that outstanding on defense. But if we're putting all things equal, I think you got to give it to Willie. He was just the best player on the ice, period. 2-way, offensive, everything. He controlled the pace of that game at points, and I don't think that can be overstated.
Well, how about the defense though? The defense, it was kind of like last year, to be honest. Didn't really see much improvements from this defensive unit, but a couple penalties from Zach Bogosian to start the game. He looked slow out there, and I think that Rasmus Sandin or Mikko Lehtinen should be playing next game, and that's something we're going to see with his load management anyways. But the defense definitely needs to get better. The defense definitely needs to step up. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's a hard question because I don't think a lot of the lead players tonight played a really good two-way game. I think JT at some points he had a pretty good game coming back as well as causing some havoc in the offensive zone. We saw him really set up the Vesey goal, keeping the puck in the offensive zone. So I think he had a pretty good game overall, but I just don't think any Leafer had a complete 60-minute game where the whole game you could say, wow, that guy just played his ass off the whole game. I just think it didn't happen tonight. And luckily we got better towards the end of the game and we ended up getting the points. But yeah, no, I think that definitely we need a better start going forward.
Question here from I'm not gonna say it. I'll mess it up. Sorry. Should Zach Hyman go back up to the first line and put Jumbo on the third or fourth line, or did it seem fine to you guys?
I would begin by saying matchups. And matchups. That is the key to this. I feel like if we're playing quicker, faster skating teams, that Zach Hyman should be moved up to the first line. But if it's a slower, more physical game, you want Jumbo on that first line to really open up space for Matthews and Marner. So I think that's ultimately going to come down to the matchups, and I think you're going to see Jumbo in a more physical matchup stay with that first line, and in a more speed-heavy matchup probably move down the lineup in favor of a Hyman.
I mean, I liked what I saw. Joe Thornton looked like he was making impact at the beginning of the game, and I like him on the line with Marner and Matthews. But I love Hyman up there on the first line. I like what they did. I like how start the game with Thornton, and then as the game progresses, you gotta give Hyman more playing time and bolster him up to that first line, and it kind of keeps his legs fresh too. So I really like that. Clark,
Yeah,
what's your take on it?
I think we've got a point here from Henny M. He says Matthews was shit. You know, I wouldn't go that far, but there was definitely points in the game where Matthews was clearly frustrated. And I know we saw some comments earlier talking about the cross checks he took. Like he got beat down low in front of the net. The Montreal defenders, I don't know if it was Claude Julien's game plan or what, but go hack up Matthews is what I saw because he got hacked the whole game. And that's tough to take as a player, you know. Again, we're watching Sin from home, but when we see some of these players take a cross check, take a slash, like that hurts, even when you got equipment on. So I think that was tough to see Matthews go through. But yeah, we could see Hyman slot in. We saw at the end of the game, Hyman did come up to that line, and it did work out. I think gave a bit more energy to the line. But again, matchups, we got to see. Keith's got to see where he thinks Jumbo can play a bigger role and where he's going to be most effective.
And to touch back on Matthews and the game he played tonight, I said it once and I'll say it again. Philip Deneau, you got to give credit where credit's due. Hell of a player. Defensively, he was really able to keep Matthews in check. And I think that goes underrated. And we saw it with different times with Montreal last year when they made that surprise run in the playoffs and played better than people expected. It's players like Philip Deneau that the rest of the league underrates that really step up. Maybe he's not the most prolific scorer in the league, but defensively, he's right there locking up top players like Austin Matthews. And you can't undercredit that. And again, I'm agreeing with Timbit here. I really think Deneau was good defensively, and that is his spot to really shine. But in OT, that's not Deneau's game. 3-on-3, that wasn't quite where he should have been. And if it's another Montreal Canadiens player that gets that breakaway, we might be talking about a different outcome right now.
Well, this is the comment I want to get to right here. VC didn't start the game well, but the Tavares Nylander VC line looked deadly. And I'm with you all the way. I'm going to talk about the first part of your comment first. Because Jimmy VC, to start this game, jumps over the boards. Stupid error. And you got to call spade a spade. It was a stupid mistake. It was a mess up. It was a miscommunication. It was an error. But he rebounded. He worked hard all game long. He tied the game up 4-4, and that really gave the Leafs momentum for the rest of the game. Love Simmonds and Thornton and the way they played as well. And I'll just show the Wayne Simmonds fight again because this is what the Wayne train was brought in for. The Wayne train, all aboard the Wayne train. And I don't know why Ben Sherratt would ever drop the gloves up 3-1, but Wayne Simmonds must have got under his skin doing what he does. Wayne Simmonds, all aboard the Wayne train. Let's go. That's why.
So, because you really are seeming like a homer here, Jake, between Wayne Simmonds and Jimmy Vesey. Who are you higher on after seeing the one game?
Well, I've been on both the Wayne train and I've just been on Jimmy Vesey, thinking he's going to be an impact player. I think that he's going to have a huge season, probably the best season of his career this year on that line. But you know what? The Wayne train's impact tonight, that was, in my opinion, the momentum moment of the game. That really swung the momentum in the Maple Leafs' favor for the rest of the game. What do you think of that?
I think that it was really good to see someone step up and drop the mitts when the Leafs needed it. As much as fighting has been phased out of the game, and it isn't quite what it ever used to be if you're used to watching old school hockey, as I'm sure some of our older fans in the comments can attest to, but there still is a place for a well-timed scrap in this game. And I think Wayne Simmonds really showed that with how he was able to shift the momentum.
Yeah, I think that Ram does bring a good point in here. He says, first game, you all suck. You know, we can't get too hyped up here. It is still the first game, and that's putting it in perspective. You know, as Leaf fans, we get really hyped up. But, you know, it was a close matchup, and it could have gone either way. But just to touch on, I think, what Simmonds did, you know, I think that, again, he knows his role on the Leafs. And I'm sure him and Dubas had a conversation when he did get signed that, you know, he probably told Simmonds, we're missing grit. We're missing a guy that can really come into the locker room, a veteran, really show some of these young guys, stand up for them through play as well as through words. So I think Simmonds did that tonight. He's really setting the tone for the season. He's setting the tone he's going to be on the Leafs and the player he's going to be. And I think it's really important, and that was a really big fight.
Well, there's a comment here from Rams. It says, Leafs have a goon for a change, and I'm not going to say that Wayne Simmonds is a goon. Wayne Simmonds is a leader. He won a Marc Messier Leadership Award with the Nashville Predators back in 2018. And yeah, he'll drop the mitts. He'll get the spark going. He'll get this team. He'll say, all aboard, let's go. Let's board the Wayne train. And the Wayne train went to a Toronto Maple Leafs victory.
And I think there's a better, more appropriate name for a player like Wayne Simmonds. It's not a goon. He's tough as nails.
You could even throw in he's an energizer bunny, you know. He comes on, he's a spark plug. You need him.
Absolutely. He's a leader. He says, I agree, Clarky. It's going to take some time for the team's defensive consistency to set in. Absolutely, it will. I think that a lot of these games to start the season are going to be higher scoring. We saw it with the Pittsburgh-Philadelphia game. I believe it was a 6-2 final for the Philadelphia Flyers. And then a 5-4 game in overtime. I think that the goalies and the defense, they're going to struggle and come out slower to start the season.
Yep, for sure.
So Simmonds is a great asset. Absolutely, bud. Where's Robertson? He should get a chance. So this is something we've been talking about a lot. Do you guys think that Nick Robertson plays one of the two games against the Ottawa Senators this week in back-to-back matchups?
I feel like Ottawa is definitely the team to start him against for one of those games. And I feel like, yes, he will crack at least one of those games to give him a good taste of NHL hockey this season and to really see where he stacks up in this lineup.
But yeah, having him sit there and do nothing, that's not going to be beneficial for his growth and development at all. We need to give him some playing time this year, and I think that him and Barabanov might be slotting in and out of the lineup, but I don't think Robertson will be playing on the fourth line. I think he'll be moving up to at least the third line. I'm not going to get into all these line juggling and how it's going to work out, but I think that Nick Robertson will definitely get his chances throughout the season, and I think that one of them may come against the Senators this weekend.
Yeah, I think that we're probably going to see the tone Keith sets going forward. Is he going to juggle the lines? Is he going to use the taxi squad? Obviously, he's going to have to at some point, injuries and everything that happens in a hockey season. But I think we may see Robertson come in. We got a comment there about Cece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he took a really bad penalty for the Penguins today. Henrik here says, I'm quite surprised the Leafs can manage to keep so many offensive star players. Tavares, Matthews, Marner, and Nylander. Do any one of you think the offensive part of the team has been over-prioritized? Clarky, I'm starting with you on this one.
First, I want to say shout out, Henrik. You said you're from Sweden, so that's amazing. We welcome fans from all around the world, any team, wherever you're from. Tune in. We're just having a good time. But what I would say is that's definitely something you got to consider. And the NHL is a cap-driven league, so we only have a certain amount of money to allocate to all our players in our squad. So if we're paying some of these guys big money, especially at Tavares, where we have over $11 million a year, that gets taken up. And that means when one guy gets more, another guy gets less. And if we have that big 4 or 5 all in offensive players, maybe we are a bit too top heavy on the offensive end, and we need more defense. We need more goalie depth. So, Henrik, I think that's a great point, and I'm interested to see what the comments say as well as you two boys.
Well, personally, I think that you could say that. We could say that we've been top heavy on our offense, and we saw last year that we had a hard time filling out the depth on offense. This year, we don't have that problem necessarily, and on defense, we're good. For the defensive depth part of it, I don't really know about our top defensive 4. We'll see how it plays out as the season progresses. But I mean, Kyle Dubas, he did a pretty good job this offseason considering the cap space he had to work with. That's my take on it. I think that this team's already been configured the way it is, so there's really no point in going back on it.
Yes, because we can sit here and say we should have done this, we should have done this. In reality, we can't go back and change it. There is one thing that the Leafs could really use, but it's a thing a lot of teams in the NHL could really use because it's one of the rarest things to find, and that is a top pairing, top skilled right-handed defenseman. And that would definitely be a beneficial position of need that the Leafs could fill. But I don't see any way with the current cap situation that they could ever fit that in without moving one of the current offensive stars. And I don't think the need is quite pressing enough that you sacrifice that offensive star power to get it filled.
Well,
Yeah.
on that note, if you haven't already, make sure you smash the like button and hit the notification bell. I see that the room is just filling up. We're getting a bunch of comments. Keep dropping your comments in here. We're going to get off pretty soon. It's been over an hour for the post-game show. It's been extremely fun. This is something I'm going to be doing Friday night for the Ottawa Senators matchup. I don't know if you guys will be here. Saturday, there will not be a post-game show. I'm going to let you know in advance, as my other channel, the Buffalo Bills, are in the playoffs right now, so I will not be available to do a post-game show. So what I'm going to do for that Sunday, I'll have a post-game, pre-game kind of montage between Ottawa Senators and Winnipeg Jets on Monday night. That's how we're going to work that out. Got some more comments here. So, I would have went to Toronto or Montreal. Oh, never mind. I mean, I think that's all we've got for tonight.
I think
So-
one thing I was going to say is Mohammed has one good comment up at the top here. He's saying, if you could trade Nylander for any player in the league, who would you trade him for? And this goes back to our trade discussions we've had for many weeks now prior to the season. If you guys haven't seen it already, check the older videos. We go through over 100 probably trade combinations for the Leafs. It's crazy. There are a lot of suggestions, but I think to end it off, I think that Nylander, the night he had, would you guys even think about trading him right now?
No. No. He looked too damn good out there tonight, and I've said it multiple times. Other teams around the league just don't have the same trade value for him. That contract's a really good contract, and William Nylander, I think his playing level is just going to only progress this season.
I think the only way you move a player like that young, would be if some GM was stupid enough to offer a defenseman like Victor Hedman. but I don't think in any reality that ever happens because other teams don't value Nylander as highly as Jake touched on, and other GMs aren't that stupid to offer top elite Norris contending defensemen. And that would really be the only thing that would make me move the needle to trade Nylander.
Absolutely. This has been a fun post-game show. I don't think we really have anything else to talk about here. I'm going to show the overtime game-winning clip from Morgan Riley just to get out of here on a happy note. Leafs win opening night 5-4 overtime against the Montreal Canadiens. The rivalry continues, and this was a great installment. Morgan Riley from ice level puts it home.
Boom.
Let's go. I'm going to give you guys the chance to close out this show. Rib, what do you have to say to the viewers?
It was a good night. It was a good night for all of us. We got to see a really good hockey game, and the Leafs won. And I'd like to thank everyone for coming out and supporting it. And we always love to see all your comments, all your fan interaction, everything from the trolls to the pleasant comments. We invite it all. And thanks for coming out and joining us for this postgame. There will be plenty more throughout the season. And I really look forward to some good hockey games to continue as the season goes on. Clarky, off to you, bud.
You know, like always, I got really 3 things I want to hammer home. First thing, fans, everyone coming on tonight, thank you for coming on, commenting, supporting the channel. If you haven't already, smash the sub button, smash the like button. This show is up to you guys. We need everyone, guys and gals, to come in here every week and really comment, share your opinions. You know, this channel is for the fans, it's by the fans, and as simple as that. Second is I want to thank Jake. You know, Jake's not getting paid. Jake does all the videos up here, and he's putting in such an effort day in and day out. And we just want to appreciate you, Jake, and thank you. Continue to do what you do. And lastly, go Leafs go. I'm excited for the weekend, doubleheader. I think the Leafs can at least grab one of them. So let's go. Let's go, baby.
Well, thank you for your kind words, as always. Thank you to everyone for watching this show. And, you know, this might be cringy, but I wanna get a chant going here because we can't go to the games and enjoy this. So when I say go Leafs go, Rib, you do the same, and then Clark. So we're gonna go Leafs go, go Leafs go, go Leafs go. Thank you all for watching this. Go Leafs go.
Leafs go.
Go,
Leafs go.
Go, Leafs, go.
Go.